Welcome back to Girl Party on Manic Animation. Previously on Girl Party, while on their way out to the Weber estate to rescue their friends Boomer and Lila, the party was ambushed by brigands. After learning that the brigands were led by the in-game NPC cousin of Sir James, a princess-turned-rogue named Evangeline, James was able to turn her and her band to their cause. Eve confessed they had been working with the cultists at the estate and outlined the cultists' tactics to Sir James and the party. After giving the wagon a makeover and attaching a second horse named Dancer which the rogues had given them, the party launched their attack on the cultist stronghold. Evangeline and her right-hand man Rolfin had joined them in the war wagon. Now, after already mowing down their first cultist and a dozen skeletons, the wagon rockets toward the estate house. This is Chapter 12, Tangled Webs.
Stavros had stopped on the front porch to look back and check the wagon's advance. It had already crossed half the field and was still rocketing toward him. The blades lashed to the wheels spun like windmill teeth. Side-slung spears jutted out at erratic angles, and both horses thundered forward in roughshod, improvised barding. A female knight in black armor and blonde pigtails bounced between them like a human shield on espresso, swatting away weapons before they could strike the animals. They had archers, too. It was distant, but he recognized one of them. That pretty thief girl. The one who'd led the bandits that were supposed to be working for Weber. Damn bard must have seduced her with a lute solo or something. He'd seen the knight lance brother Dirtlin in the back and toss him aside like yesterday's trash. Now she'd spotted brother Carl limping up the hill trying to flee. He wasn't going to make it. An arrow to the leg ended that fantasy. Carl collapsed like a side quest gone wrong.
Sorry, Carl,
Stavros muttered, with all the sympathy of a man late for a dinner reservation. He turned and bolted into the house.
Zombies, guard mode,
He belted out to the hidden corpses as he ran through. He glanced up at the one swinging overhead. He wished he had time to animate that one too, but time was something he'd already run out of. Stavros looked briefly at the open door to the basement as he fled through the ransacked kitchen. He considered running down to warn the others, but what would he even say? Most of them wouldn't understand the danger anyway. He just ran. He fled out the back door, breath ragged, legs pumping like pistons. He didn't look back. In his head, he prayed they'd go straight into the house, because if they circled behind it, he was already dead. And Stavros wasn't ready to join the undead just yet. We were more than halfway up the hill toward the manor house, and still moving like a bat out of bard school. Molly, along with our new companions Evangeline and Rolfin, was popping out arrows like she'd been born in a quiver. It turned out she knew how to use a short bow. Of course she did. We were nearly out of arrows, but also nearly out of enemies. Claire and Shayla still had their heads down, just like we'd planned. Angel was using her parrying ability to shield the horses as they trampled over their undead prey. They'd already run down at least 5 skeletons, and 1 unlucky cultist. A sudden jolt bounced all of us. I staggered to keep my balance, still surfing the wagon with guitar in hand like a half-drunk rock god. Make that 2 cultists. A small pack of ghoulies had taken up pursuit. Smaller undead like goblins and kobolds, reanimated with extra bite. They were faster than skeletons, and a lot meaner. Molly started pegging the little ghoulies with ceramic flasks full of whiskey. Her aim? Deadly. Eve followed up by shooting flaming arrows into the soaked corpses. The last 2 were already smoldering, slowing down, and about to drop dead. Again. I let my guitar dissolve into a swirl of purple smoke, reforming into my short sword. Still standing, still balanced, I clenched it tight as we rolled up to the front porch of the estate. I was pretty sure I saw another cultist dodge inside. "Run all you want," I bellowed after him, pretty sure he was already too far away to hear my dramatic one-liner. Boom! We'd officially run out of arrows. Rolfin took down the last skeleton with his gnomish revolver, blasting its head into flying shards like a shattered bottle. I leapt down from the wagon and, with one good swing, toppled what was left of the headless skeleton, catching it in the ribcage and spine. Down it went. Just us now, standing outside the estate. No more undead. Everyone knew their places. Angel and I took point, with Eve and Molly close behind. Rolfin brought up the rear, covering Shayla and Claire. Raid on. We'd only taken a few steps past the double doors into the vast living room when we all froze. Every one of us looking up at once.
No,
Whispered the red-haired wizard, her voice barely audible. Hanging from the rafters above was Boomer. Dead. His massive body swung slightly, limp and blue. Not rope. Something else. My stomach turned.
that's not rope. It's web.
Whispered the pink-haired elf behind me. I was really glad I looked back. Rolf! Zombie! I blurted it out and shoved our elf priestess out of the way, just in time to stop the thing from grabbing her as it rose out of the gutted couch cushions. Rolf, who was right next to it, shot it point blank in the head, taking off half its face and deafening the rest of us for the next 5 minutes. Another one erupted from the fireplace, covered in soot. The pink-haired elf was closest. She spun and cracked it with her staff, hard enough to launch it a couple yards across the room. The third one rose from a pile of rotting rugs in the corner, right next to Angel. Big mistake. She drove it into the wall with one blade and took its head off with the other. Evangeline screamed and I spun. The last one had been hiding behind the door. It grabbed her from behind, throwing her off balance. Its open mouth dove straight for her shoulder. I lunged forward and smashed the hilt of my blade into its face, hard enough to crack its neck and leave its head permanently sideways. It released her, and she staggered into me. As I pulled her back and it started to straighten, 2 of Molly's daggers thudded into its eyes. Then Rolfin and Molly were in.
Thanks, James.
Eve said breathlessly. Only when I looked down did I realize she was still leaning into me, like we were posing for the cover of some cheap romance novel. She was staring into my eyes. Good God, it was hard to look away.
Let the girl go, Eye Candy. We still have bad guys to slay.
Molly said with a chuckle. The spell broke. I set Eve upright, and she dusted herself off. We both stole a glance. Then I remembered Boomer. His massive form still hung above us, limp, blue, and wide-eyed in frozen terror. Yeah, we were all going to need therapy.
We should cut him down.
I could see the red-haired wizard's lips moving and even read what she was saying, but I was still too deaf to hear it.
We can't help him right now. You can check him once we're done.
The pink-haired elf said gently, putting her arm around the wizard's shoulder.
She's right. They're freak lairs in the basement.
Eve said, pointing toward the kitchen. Then let's get to the basement, I replied with grim determination. The stairs were old and trapped. Molly spotted a stretch of rotted steps that would have dropped us into a spear-lined pit. Rolfin caught a pressure plate pulsing with some foul magic. We avoided both. Barely. The descent continued. Nothing could have prepared us for what waited in the basement. The basement had been gutted and hollowed out, carved into a massive, cavernous space. One whole wall was missing, replaced by another stairway, this one carved directly into the rock itself, leading down to a much larger hall. It almost looked like a cathedral, hewn from the earth itself. The center was dimly lit with torches. The rocky floor was scattered with debris and toppled stones. A massive stone altar stood just beyond an ornate pentagram carved into the floor, etched inside a circle of power. Thick wooden beams held up the ceiling, but the edges of the vast chamber dissolved into shadow and web. It covered the walls, the ceiling, the far side of the chamber, clinging to everything. And then, the spider. Monstrous. Each leg had to be 40 feet long, twitching, braced, ready to move. Its body was a grotesque, glistening bulb, and a torso, a head, human arms. His true form was a nightmare. Human only from the waist up, and even that barely passed. And he had Lila, cradled in his two human arms. Her arms were bound to her sides, and after a moment, I saw the web wrapped around her. From just beneath her chest down to her ankles, her face was uncovered. I could hear her softly crying and begging, even from here. That's when I saw it. A thick strand of web stretching from her neck to the ceiling. All he had to do was let go. She'd hang, just like Boomer.
That's far enough. Another step, and I end her.
Bellowed the abomination that had once been Mr. Weber, cackling as his elongated, claw-like fingers flexed while he shifted Lila.
I don't know what that rogue told you, but I can be a reasonable arachnid.
Weber bellowed, after glancing at Evangeline. Like hell he could. I knew a Widow King when I saw one. Apex predator of the spiderkin, rare and well out of our level range. I had to really hope our plan held together.
Send forward just your priestess. I have need of Shayla. She must aid one of my children.
He hissed. He couldn't have said that creepier.
If she steps forward alone, I'll release the girl.
He nodded down toward Lila as he said it. It was an obvious trap. Thank you for watching Girl Party, Chapter 12, Tangled Webs, Part 1. Please check back next week here on our YouTube page for the conclusion. All chapters and their accompanying songs are available on the Manic Animation YouTube page. Please check back each Friday for new videos. If you enjoy our content, please like and subscribe. Check back regularly for new content. Thank you for watching.